Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello dear friends, welcome to this first lecture of Module 2 on water-rock interaction or rock-water interaction. In Module 1, we have discussed about different type of geological ground or engineering geological ground, about rock material and rock strata. In addition to this, we have discussed about concept of stress, strain, deformation and few important mechanical parameters at preliminary level to establish a background for proper understanding of our future discussions concerned to various aspects of engineering geology. Now in this first lecture of Module 2, we will address about interaction of water and rock. The water and rock interaction is a very important because it results varieties of activities going to influence engineering geological project. So in this class, we are going to discuss first about different types of water, distribution of water and different type of rocks and rock strata at preliminary level. In this lecture we are going to cover about a concept of hydrosphere and biosphere and atmosphere in brief as an introduction. Then different forms of water, distribution of water and different type of rocks, rock strata in brief, and then preliminary aspects as an introduction about the water rock or rock water interaction. So friends, as you know, the whole Earth system can be divided in subsystem, and the subsystems we are going to recognize in form of sphere, and these subsystems can be broadly divided into two categories, that is the geosphere and biosphere. For the geosphere we can able to divide in different categories consisting of the lithosphere or presenting lithosphere, presenting hydrosphere, presenting cryosphere and presenting above to this lithosphere and hydrosphere atmosphere. However, the domain of living component, that is the biosphere, extending from some part of lithosphere. Here if you are going to see here atmosphere, then about some locations here hydrosphere, here lithosphere. So here biosphere is ranging from this some part of the lithosphere, shallow part of the lithosphere, and extending up to some part of the atmosphere. This zone is actually recognized as biosphere. If we are going to see, here I have taken this diagram with help of net. If you see here, we have divided this whole sphere system in two broad categories, geosphere and biosphere. Here this solar energy due to our God Sun. This geosphere further divided as here side lithosphere made up of lith, and the hydrosphere surface and subsurface, then cryosphere dominated by the ice and others, rainfall and other, slightly different than the hydrosphere, slightly, and atmosphere above our domain. Then the biosphere consisting of, if we are going to see different layers, here lithosphere, here hydrosphere, here slightly cryosphere, then atmosphere. Lithosphere, hydrosphere, and then cryosphere, atmosphere. This biosphere requires some base, so covering some part of the lithosphere, surfacial part and subsurfacial part. The hydrosphere also present up to some extent in lithosphere. Then the lithosphere, hydrosphere, cryosphere and some part of atmosphere. This zone we are going to recognize as biosphere. Now question is why? Because the existence of living thing requires water, requires land, requires air. And air we are getting from this atmospheric side, water from the hydrospheric side, and the land from the lithospheric side. So in this way we are going to see overall, and these land, water and air are fundamental component for existence of existing ecosystem. Now if we are going to see the water, different type of water present chemically, as you know, the water is chemically recognized as H2O, combination of hydrogen and oxygen. This can also electronically H plus OH minus. So we are not going to move in this direction. Here we are going to categorize different type of water, and when we are going to see the water based on their genetic, water based on its genetic aspects or condition, then we can able to divide water broadly into category: surface water and subsurface water. Surface water, that is the flowing on the surface of the earth, and subsurface water is available below the surface of the earth. If we are going to further see about the surface water and subsurface water, then we can say that the water present in river, lakes, ocean, flowing water on surface, in any form available on the surface is recognized as surface water. So we have number of examples: water present in river, water present in pond, water present in oceans, water present in estuaries, etc. The good examples of surface water. Then subsurface water. Subsurface water, as the term indicates, subsurface means lying below the surface of the earth. And in this category we have groundwater, we have connaught water, we have soil water and capillary water, broadly. In addition to this, we have one special type of water, that is the jubilant water, found in very deep in earth, not close to crust. As far as the groundwater is concerned, it existed in the saturated zone, and the topic is concerned with the different classification of aquifer, different type of aquifer, conditions of aquifer, etc. Connaught water is actually fossil water, the water preserved under the subsurface or within the subsurface or within the crust for a long time. Preserved water, that is known as connaught water. And connaught water, as preserved, therefore it is generally saline in nature. We will discuss in our classification concerned to the chemical nature of the water. Meteoric water is simply rainwater or melt water, and this rainwater and melt water, rain from the clouds and the melt from this solid part of the water, is recognized as meteoric water. And this meteoric water is responsible for the major portion of the surface water. This meteoric water is moving in river, in lakes, confined in lakes, and finally try to feed in oceans partially. In addition to this, we have jubilant water, and jubilant water is originated in interior of the earth, not confined to the crust. It is located in very deep. If we are going to see the form, on the basis of form, if we are going to categorize different type of water, then we have, it's a good example, we have simple solid in nature in form of ice and others. Then the melt form of this ice is in liquid form, that is the simple flowing water, and some of the component which is moving toward the cloud side we are recognizing as gaseous or in moisture form. So water can be divided in three categories based on the form: solid, liquid and gas. Solid, we are having good example of snow and ice. The high altitude mountainous area or cold region is decorated by this type of solid water, or in another word we can say that ice. Artificially also we are enjoying some ice. Then liquid, the general state liquid nature of the water is recognized as liquid water, and some vapor form and gaseous form that is responsible for formation of clouds we are going to recognize as gaseous water. If we are going to further see about the nature, then we can say that the water may be acidic in nature or alkaline in nature, and depending on concentration of hydrogen plus ion. This concentration of hydrogen plus ion we are going to define by one very popular term, pH. This pH is nothing, pH is simply a minus log concentration of H plus ion. This indicates about the chemical nature of the water. Is it acidic or it is alkaline in nature, depending on the pH value. Through our general knowledge, we have idea about the pH. pH 7 we are considering as a natural, and when this pH is more than 7, then the water move toward the alkaline nature, and the pH is less than 7, then it is acidic in nature. If we are going to see the concentration of this H plus and concentration of OH minus, then it is ranging in 10 to power minus 14. And when we are going to recognize in formula, then if we are taking the P of H plus P of OH minus, then it is a 14. So total pH we are dividing 14. Half portion is representing neutral, and above the 7 we are recognizing an alkaline water, and below the 7 we are recognizing the acidic water. You all know well, that is not anything special. The alkalinity in water is caused by presence of bicarbonates like calcium bicarbonate, magnesium bicarbonate, or carbonates, hydroxides of sodium, potassium, calcium, etc. So salt, presence of the salt. If we are going to see the categorization of water based on location, then we can say that this rainwater here, the clouds responsible for raining the ground, and this type of water which we have recognized as the meteoric water genetically, the water coming from clouds is recognized as rainwater, as the term is self-explanatory. If this rainwater is flowing on surface, then it is recognized as surface water. And if some of the water, if enters subsurface, then it is the groundwater. Here we are not moving toward the groundwater. It is surface water. The surface water may be located on the surface of the earth in form of some streams, some waterlets and others. Then the collective body of the surfacial water confined within the boundary we are getting in river water. Then located if in confined boundary within defined as a pond, then the pond water. Filled in lake or level in lake, then the lake water. And available nearby the oceanic area having the mixed nature of water, partially saline and partially fresh, then estuarine water, then ocean water. These are some surfacial water. In addition to this, we have some water present in plant and present in living things, human body also, are all living things. Then industrial water. Then we have domestic water released from the social society. Industrial water from the industry, it may be from the mining side, mine water, it may be from the metallurgical industry side, metallurgical industrial water, it may be from the chemical factory side. So varieties of sectors we have, and each sectors are going to provide some water as a waste material or utilizing water for their input during various type of process involved. So this is general view. You all know well. We are moving one by one. Here particularly surface water which coming from this clouds on the surface in form of precipitation rain, and due to melt of this ice, this is the ice zone, some of the water, running waters enter inside subsurface, and this type of water we are going to recognize as groundwater. Groundwater, single word. Some of the water flow in river, we have recognized as river water. Some of the water present in plants and trees, that is the plant water, and the huge mass of the water present in this ocean. So here if we are going to look in this, the rainwater falling on the surface of the earth and the solid form of the water contributing in form of the melt, then the flow of water in river and the accumulation of water in ocean, water present in plants, and the subsurface. The subsurface water, that is the groundwater, is going to balance the existence of river. If we are going to see here precipitation of water on the land, then again due to change in temperature condition there is evaporation of water from ocean, evaporation of water from rivers, and evaporation of water from trees known as evapotranspiration, evaporation of water from ocean known as evaporation. Then partially the evaporation of water from the solid parts also. The whole thing, whole evaporation induced gaseous form move toward the atmosphere and come in form of the cloud, then again come in form of the rain. So all this water is finally in cyclic nature, not in linear nature. Similarly in state-wise also, solid water changes into liquid, liquid into gases, and gaseous again become liquid, then at the low temperature become solid. So cyclic in nature. It is not linear in nature, and we are fortunate to have the concept of nature is cyclic in nature, not linear in nature. Linear maybe show one end. That is different from this lecture. Here, now we are going to see, after this brief description related to water, before this discussion, here I try to again categorize some of the water lying subsurface and different states. Then it will be easy to understand this groundwater domain. Groundwater domain groundwater single word. Groundwater domain present subsurface under unconfined state and under confined state. This unconfined and confined state we are going to recognize in rock or soil formation recognized as aquifer. Aquifer is a water bearing body where the water is located in saturation zone. Here for better explanation, here I try to show the vertical distribution of groundwater. Here the surface part, the subsurface, here the base, all the business of confinement of the water or unconfined state of the water depends on the two property of strata. One property is a porosity, presence of pores, and second is interconnected pores having open boundary. Interconnected pores or voids having open boundary means it is going to define as the permeability. Permeability is the property of strata or property of rock or property of soil that allows flow of water or flow of fluid or flow of liquid. So here we are discussing water, therefore flow of water. If any strata is not going to allow the movement of the water, we are recognizing as impervious. If partially recognizing, partially allow the flow, then semi-pervious. And if fully allowing for the movement of the water through pores and void interconnected, then it is recognized as pervious. So this impervious zone is able to provide the base for the moving water from the superficial part, and suppose water is entering inside this and started accumulating in this zone, in pores and in voids or in open spaces available in this strata. Then after this accumulation in saturated zone, then we have here one transition zone. This transition zone, as per physics of this water movement, we have number of pores that are responsible to perform the capillary action. Above this we have aeration zone where air present, and this allows the movement of the water under gravity. Aeration zone. This zone is not stable in form of the accumulation of the water. Finally, water enters inside this saturation zone. And this level of saturation zone in terms of hydrology we are recognizing as a water table in when this boundary is not confined. Then we have here soily material. So some of the water available in the upper part that can be well utilized by the plants, trees and others. This part is known as soil water. This part is known as water in the aeration zone, very limited, and the water in saturation zone. If this boundary is not impervious, then the water is under unconfined state, and this type of aquifer is recognized as unconfined aquifer. If any impervious strata is going to cover this zone, it means the water present inside this is under confinement. So recognized as confined aquifer. Confined aquifer, because the water is under pressure, therefore the water have tendency to flow up to some level, and this type of zone we are recognizing as phreatic zone. Phreatic zone or phreatic level. So briefly here we have discussed, then the time to time we will discuss as per our requirement. Here if we are going to see this situation, here the water when going to interact with rock or with geomaterial, including soil also or weathered material also, the interaction of water with rock or rock with water, both same. When this water is going to interact, either rainwater in form of drops, either in form of the flow, either in form of the load, either in form of the reaction, then there is a two level of interaction. One level of interaction, here I try to give one example. When this water is going to interact with this rock, which we have already prepared here. So when this water is going to interact, going to flow on this ground, then due to impact, due to friction, and due to wear and tear, and due to impact, various type we will discuss in our future discussions. Here I try to take one particular example considering this friction. When this water flow is going to interact with rock, and if this water is started flowing on the surface of this rock, then two things happen here. One thing, the surface roughness of this rock is going to influence the characteristic of flow, and this flow is going to partially erode the material present on the superficial part of the rock by following the abrasion. This abrasion is a loosening of the grains due to interaction of water following the concept of frictional resistance. Frictional resistance and stress. This flowing water, here I try to make one cartoon and through this I try to explain. This flowing water having some energy and going to provide some stress. When read this rock samples or rock strata, so this stress is going to interact with the resistance offered by the surface of this rock, and due to this frictional and stress business, there is a change in surfacial features of the rock, and some of the materials involved and started flowing along with this water. So the nature of water here and the nature of water after passing from this rock strata is different. This type of water is having varieties and the number of loads in form of the sand grains or rock fragments and others. So in this way we can say that there is a modification in water as well as modification in rock. The rock is contributing something towards the water, change in water, and the water is contributing change in rocks. Then the behavior of this water located in A zone and behavior of this water may be different, not maybe, must be different from each other. And the rock present here in first time T1 and after time T2 far different. So in this way we are going to see as the water through interaction is going to change lot of changes in rock and rock strata, and our engineering geological applications are involving the rock and rock strata and soil also. Soil for development of engineering structures where the water is going to change the inherent characteristic of rocks. Therefore, it is very important for our engineering geological point of view as well as different other point of view concerned to genetic aspect of different type of mineral deposit or different type of utilizations related work. Here we can see the water coming from this going to interact with the water and going to take this number of this due to interaction of the water with rock, and the some of the rock come in form of this boulder. So there is a change in the condition of rock, as well as here fresh water is coming without any obstacle or any load or any rock fragment. Then after interaction there is this water is flowing along with sediments and rock fragments and others. These diagrams I have taken, these photographs, not diagram. These photographs I have taken from the Himalayan area, particularly nearby the Badrinath area. Next, here you can see the water interacting with the ground. It may be soily, it may be rock. Similar to the rock, there is a lot of changes in soil also. Soil as the soft and partially consolidated in nature. Therefore, the action of the water flow induced stresses are more in comparison to rocks. We will discuss in our future discussions in this after this class. Here you can see this is the result of interaction of water, solid water. It was filled by the solid water, that is the ice. This zone filled by ice, and as you know, the liquid form of the water and the solid form of the water, there is a volume difference. The solid form of the water, that is the ice, showing more volume, so going to provide this tension. Suppose here I try to explain in very easy way. If this is the rock block and we are having this type of discontinuities, final discontinuity filled by the water or filled, then this discontinuity having water through change in the temperature condition, if this water is in solid form become ice, then there is change in volume, and the change in volume is going to provide the expansion. Therefore, this zone is under tension, following the tension effect and responsible for widening of this type of zone further and further, and making this boulder moving here when this melt water, this solid water changes in form of liquid water. So progressively there is a change, fragmentation of this material, and these materials again mixed with the water, change in character of the water as well as change in this inherent character of the rock or rock strata. Friends, this type of concepts we can see by the any engineering geological book, any geological book, but for concept of the stress and concept of this water and others, we are having some engineering geological books and rock mechanics books, which we have already discussed in our previous discussion. Here, in conclusion, we can say that the water is a liquid, as it is the lifeline of the existing ecosystem, very important. And the water can be divided on the basis of genetic, on the basis of location, on the basis of form, and on the basis of geography also. The desert water, cold region water, and others we will discuss time to time in our future classes. Rivers are responsible for lot of changes in rock as well as soil, due to weathering, due to dissolutions, due to precipitation, etc. We will elaborate in our next class. And then we can see the water in form of acidic or in form of alkaline and others. Then we have discussed and initiated the concept of water-rock or rock-water interaction and the changes in rocks as well as change in characteristic of water in very brief. Dear friends, in this class we have discussed about the water, different type of water in view of genetic aspects, different type of water based on the location, based on geography, based on form or state, solid, liquid, gas, and based on location, river water, lake water, ocean water, estuaries water, and other acidic and basic in very brief. Then we have initiated the concept of water-rock or rock-water interaction, how the water is going to interact with rock or how the rock is going to interact with water. Then in next class we will elaborate the water-rock or rock-water interaction in detail, step and step wise. Thank you.